Brown pumping off adrenaline. I'm way too in my element. I know there's people better than, but right now who is better than? A man that's working hard as shit, trying to find a pot to piss. Showing all the ups and downs, shit is filled with awkwardness. Working on my discipline, time for me, I schedule it. Show my life unedited. I be doing shit I never did. Music therapeutic is a little dose of.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, today, what I want to talk about is just a simple life update. I gave an update when I got sick at the beginning of this year, and it was right after I got sick twice back to back. Crazy, lost 20 pounds, was in bed for 3 weeks, and it was also during the time that I lost one of my first cousins, and unfortunately it was due to murder, so it wasn't like a natural cause where I could try to understand or conceptualize, life, but this is just a different thing, right? I mean, not to compare grief, that's not what I'm doing by any means. But, I'm just, last time I gave an update was when I finished all of that. Got through that little bit of a season, gained a lot of clarity as to what I want to do with my life, learned a lot about, just reflected, just sat in the house and was so sick and, just doubled down on my values and doubled down on what mattered to me and, just really just looked at life from a different perspective. And, I'm very positive. I'm always very positive, despite the heaviness of my depression and mental health sometimes, right? And it's I made a post on Instagram the other day, talked about the depression and things, and it's real. Mental health is real. We all struggle, right? And it's not to be joked around about, it has to be taken serious. I think, your demeanor around it should be light. Like, you should be able to have lighthearted jokes about it and, be able to talk about the conversations. But, when I did my last update, I was like, this is what I need to do with my life. I just learned all of these different things and I'm fucking getting after it. So since then, now this life update is now just kind of reflecting on giving the new update as to what I'm actually going to do the rest of this year. Proof is in the pudding, right? Like last episode I said, when it came to the life update, and I said, I was going to, repaint the pictures. This year I plan on doing a show originally. This year I planned on, honestly, that was it. Just a show, working on my business, honestly, more so was trying to figure out what my next move was more of the idea. And, I knew I wanted to move out of this lease, didn't know really what that looked like. I wanted to kind of move and get into a new spot. So we were looking locally. I knew I had to take a lot of my business endeavors to the next level in terms of hiring a team for accounting and bookmarking, all these things, because I can't do it alone now. And, I was just not saying lack that spark, but I think I admitted that in the last life update, was just that little bit of a grit, a little bit of spark of I just got to get after it was missing. And that was the biggest takeaway that I got out of being sick and going through the grief and trying to understand what I feel like life is about and these different things, because, I realized I wasn't playing to my potential. And I'm always honest about struggling and things, and I was struggling a lot, so since that life update, I said I wanted to potentially get into traveling. I said I wanted to, I wasn't going to compete anymore. I wanted to change all of my workouts up, start working out and getting into more compounds, more functional strength, potentially even running and all these different things in terms of that and the fitness side of things, and looking at it from the perspective of when I'm 80 to 90 years old and these different things. Same with the business and the future endeavors, what does retirement look like for me? What does these things look like? Whereas before I was just trying to I don't really know, like I said, going through the motions, right? So since the last update now, and this is where it becomes a big banger, and this is almost why I don't want to say dragged on in terms of what's the biggest thing, but, as far as it comes to competing, I put that back on the back burner. I'm going to do that maybe next year or the year after, but I, since the last update, have went and got a new coach and revamped my entire program, and I was with him for 2-3 months. I'm still working with him, but now that I'm on a cut, looking to shred a few pounds of fat, I have to change my training up because my energy output isn't the same that it was. But I did 2-3 months solid of strength training, compounds, 5x5s, 3x5s, and 1 rep maxes, and I fucking gained a lot of size. I gained a lot of strength. I gained a lot of experience, and it was great because it's the exact level of that excitement towards my training I needed to rekindle with myself. And last update I said I was going to get into that, and here I am now on the other end of that, finishing that entirely, and it's fucking unreal. And I'm already, since I'm on a cut, I'm going to try to lose upwards of another 10 pounds of fat. So once that's done, I'm going to get right back into that training style and continue the growth, because it kind of goes with the bigger picture of my life. With, if I'm going to compete next year, I need to have another off season, gain a little bit of weight, get into a bulk, get into another cut, and prepare for the show. So it's my next big 1 rep max and 5x5 training and that type of functional training split will be in line with me progressively increasing my calories, getting into the fall seasons and having higher calories, which prep would start ideally early next year, So it all kind of makes sense, and kind of the puzzle pieces fit themselves where they needed to go once I kind of found my groove again. Because the thing I said was like, the gym was just purely just like the bodybuilding focus a little bit. It was just like, last year I exceeded my expectations, and I didn't really know what to do next. I guess I could do another show, and I guess I could just try to get as big as I can and play the game and keep trying to just progress on this front that I'm already doing well at, or I could try to actually make things more intentional. And that's what I knew I was missing, was that intentionality with the training to feel excited again. I just felt like I was just going like a cog in the wheel, as if you will, if you've ever heard that saying, just going through the motions. So now that I'm sitting here with a cut, started a cut since the last update as well. I actually, since I lost all the weight, it's actually funny, I went down to 182, 183, and I now went back up to 207 at my peak bulk to get back after I was sick, and I just honestly was eating as much food as I fucking could. I was eating 4,000 calories a day. But now I'm on my cut. I think it's about 4 to 6 weeks I've been on my cut, and I started at 207. I'm now around 194, 193. And so, I'm down about almost 15 pounds of fat. And, not all of it's fat. Obviously, like I said, coming back up, I was trying to eat a lot of food to gain that weight back, right? So a lot of it was water weight, carbs and stuff like this, right? But I'm looking to lose I'm down to get to 185, you know what I mean? So I want to lose another 8 to 9 pounds, hopefully a body fat, straight fat, see what I look like around 185. And, that's where I'm at now. So the cut's going to go for until summertime, which is around June, July. And then, we'll see how we go from there. Probably just do maintenance and stuff like that. But I'm excited about it. I want to look good for summer. I want to feel good. And, I have a lot more news to share with this episode. I'm kind of dragging it out because it's not saying I'm nervous to share it, but I'm just fucking excited. And that's why it's so important to have a life update, because I want to really captivate how fast your life can change when you just fire in all cylinders and have the clarity as to where you want to go and why you want to go there and just fucking get after it. And, I know there's a lot of resistance we get, in adversity, and it's not just a plus B equals C conversation to change your life, but when you're determined and you actually, and I fucking mean this, actually focus all of your energy on it. I'm not talking about, I want to change my life, and then you actually doom scroll on Instagram, TikTok, and shit for a few weeks or a few hours a day, even 15 minutes. I literally don't care. If you're on your phone for 15 minutes a day on TikTok, you better have fucking crushed every other fucking goal. I don't give a flying fuck. And that sounds aggressive, but it's no different than if you're going to sit down and watch a Netflix show. How dare you fucking sit there and try to speak with conviction you want to change your life when you're not actually putting in the work. And it's unfortunately, people like me become aggressive like that, no standards, so maybe you ruffle some feathers so you guys finally see some reflection in yourself. Or unfortunately, life gets to a point where it tells you to go fuck yourself. And you just you have a bad breakup, you have a bad relationship, or, someone says something to you, or work goes south, and all of a sudden now you're confronted with the reality of the work you weren't doing. And that's the biggest thing with it, right? So if you're actually willing to sit and manifest this life, and I'm talking about irritability, get fucking mad you don't have this stuff, but not from a standpoint that you're degrading yourself, but almost annoyed that you don't have it yet. I'm talking about you got to have all your space occupied with these things. It can change. Everything can go wherever you want it to go. And, I think when it comes back to just the alignment of changing your life and showing how fast things can accumulate and gaining that momentum, it just is super inspiring, because 99% of the time we are all in our own fucking heads. So that was my quick little rant, but it's true. If you want to that's what I want to do with this episode and this life update, is show how fast things can change when you're already in momentum, and you just fucking decide to get the clarity and show up and embrace the shit that's hard. Because it wasn't easy for me to get these emotions. It's a lot of my ego and pride that I had to understand why. I'm prideful with my results in the gym. I'm prideful with the ability of me to do bodybuilding prep, and my ego was telling me I could do this and all these different things. And it's not that it's wrong, but it's is it right? Is it intentional? Is it aligned with me in the bigger picture? Do you know what I mean? So I'm on a cut now. I'm going to, like I said, going to be doing this until about June, July, and then we'll see where we're there, do maintenance, and then kind of get back into a reverse diet, a little bit of a bulk. And I did want to get into running, but a little bit of runs that I did get migraines, and I had a little bit of adversity, so running's out of the picture right now. I'm actually dealing with some knee pain, which fucking sucks, but it's just sick to have all the intentions and clarity around the training goals too, which is exciting. But the biggest thing I wanted to share, which I'm super excited about, I know a lot of you guys are going to support me for this, and I'm fucking inspired, and I don't even really know how to share it, because I'm just is this even real? But on the topic of moving, wanting to leave this lease and get into something different, when I put my emotions to the side, look at the facts as to what I want, and I'm not going to let my fear, my self-doubt, and, my scarcity mindset thinking that, I'm scared to take a risk and inflict any influence on my decision. looks like we're moving to Mexico. Looks like we're moving to Mexico. And, we're going down for, like, we're going to become, what is it, snowbirds? We're going to get away from the snow. Like, we just are. And it's not even just from the standpoint of I don't like it here from the winter and those things. It just comes down to three main things. Number one, I'm young. I'm 30 years old. I don't have any commitments. It's just me and Emma. We've been together. We don't have any kids yet. We live in the house. We don't own it. Like, we don't have anything. We just have a little bit of debt and just gotta figure out how to fucking navigate life where we want to go. So it's like, let's do. If there's any time in our life to do it, to travel, to see the world, it's now. Second thing is we get paid to work online because of our job and our infrastructures that we've worked hard to build. So theoretically speaking, like, I don't need to be anywhere at any time and place. As long as I can be in a time and place, I can focus on my business to have money. So it's not like I'm traveling, not making money, and not moving ahead. It's like I'm just living in Mexico, working just as hard as I am here in Canada and Nova Scotia. And I think the last reason why I want to travel and these things is just to, like, prove what's capable. It's just, we only know what we know. And we only do what we understand. Do you know what I mean? And I'm going to say it again, because we only know what we know, and we only do what we understand. Because it's like we grew up with the information that we had access to. So to even fathom the idea to move out of the country and live abroad and do these different things and X, Y, and Z, it's crazy. Do you know what I mean? That's why, like, when people talk about money and you're like, well, what if you made $200,000 a year? Every single one of you guys listening, even myself included as I record this, if I was to be like, you're guaranteed $200K a year, and then that's even before taxes, and you 90% of you are bought in for the most part before you even know what the job is. Do you know what I mean? And then there's a little bit of understandings as to commitments. Like, it'd be very hard to push you off the edge with the jobs you guys are already currently doing within reason. I'm not saying that, like, paint rocks under a fucking bridge, like, for, like, a job and there's all these different things. I can go on a big rant about that, but it's just one of those things that's like, when you speak your life into existence, you're like, oh, if I made $200,000 a year, I could buy this house, I could have this car, I could do these things. You get excited about it, but there's that little bit of disbelief. There's that little bit of disbelief that you can get it and that it's real. And it's the same thing when it comes to the conversation of traveling abroad and all these different things. Every single one of us wants to do it or has wanted to do it at some point in life. And, so it's like, why not do it now? Before we get commitments and before we do other things. And actually the third reason, so I guess I got four, is financial, straight up financial. It is pretty expensive to live in Canada. And unfortunately, like, not to go too in depth on the finances side of things, but 90% of our money goes into the fucking house. Nova Scotia, like, we pay probably like $4,000 in expenses, $4,500 in expenses just because the house, the power's insane, the rent's insane, and, it's just, I guess, inflation, but it's like, groceries are a little bit expensive, but I think they're manageable. Everything, I think every single thing is manageable right now, aside from literally just the rent. Rent's just crazy. We're paying like fucking $3,000 in rent, which is crazy, absolutely insane. So, Mexico, it just makes sense, and then when we come back, like, we're looking to buy land and buy a house and just really put every single penny that we made and get into that. So why not take advantage of every avenue of life that we're available to have it in front of us and just absolutely go after it, you know what I mean? And then we're going to go down from August till probably November, come back for Christmas, see where life is at, and probably go down again January to probably in the summer, and then we'll be back here next summer, But that's crazy, that's the biggest update, and I say that because it was never really a plan to do that. It was 100% to, like, do it eventually and, all these different things. But it wasn't like I didn't, like, reflect my last life update and be like, I want to move out of the country and do these crazy things. Like, it just happened to be in alignment with where we're going because I just decided to show up and embrace the hard emotions and just be the best version of myself. And like I said at the beginning, and this kind of throughout this entire episode, is the intention behind it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want that intention. I want that clarity. I want to know what it is that I'm doing each day is moving myself towards the needle of what I want. And I think I was just caught up going through the emotions. And, a lot of us do with that. Like, you do get caught up in the emotions, and it's just part of the fucking process. It's just literally just part of the process as just showing up and changing your life, because you can't be on all the time. You can't be changing your life all the time. But as you change your life and grow, there's times and periods where you just have a little bit of a different perspective because you're adapting to that level. And then you go through that little bit of an emotional, you can almost like relate it to a dopamine cleanse. It's like an emotional cleanse of the growth that you've had. And you just kind of stay in a position you feel stagnant because last, let's say 3-6 months to a year has been just straight growth and grind and changing, that now you just, you just need to kind of like get to the details again. You know what I mean? Your life is here. You're now got to allow yourself to adapt and then kind of figure out what the next detailed pattern is. And that's just part of the process. That's why consistency is the hardest fucking thing. Is because it's hard to stay consistent and embrace all these different emotions. But for me to have this clarity on it, and even just down to the point of the community and how many clients I want and what type of clients I want and characteristics of clients that I want and how I want to provide services for my clients, all these different things, is even that clarity is insane. Because, you know, they're not saying I don't want to help certain people, but, you know, you can't give your energy to everybody. And that's the same context of even having boundaries for good mental health. You know, it doesn't have to come down to the business and clients. It's the same energy of, you know, fuck, like I love mental health, I love podcasting, and I love being there for a bunch of people, but I can't spread myself too thin. You know what I mean? And, you know, at the end of the day, the clarity that I got is just incredible. I am super, super grateful for it. And actually, I'm flying out to Houston on Tuesday. This is being recorded on Sunday. I'm going to release it actually as soon as I finish recording. I'm just going to upload and stuff to get ahead of it. But I'm going to Houston Tuesday to Friday, hang out with the Team Lifts crew. And, you know, we're going to go Top Golf. We're going to go do a MLB game. We're going to go to a couple gyms, get some content, just hang out and live our life. And, you know, along those times down there, I'm going to be working still, right? Hanging out, doing my thing. Like, it's not going to change. It's just my location is going to change. And just crazy to see where life is at, because clarity is all of it. And, you know, last check-in that I did, last life update, was a lot of like, holy fuck, this is how I've been living my life. This is where I need it. This is where I feel I need to take it. Let's take it this way. And here I am, had taken it this way. And here I am, sitting here, this clear, this intentional, and just fucking great, you know? And this isn't to brag. It's just to be like, lock your shit in and keep fucking growing. Double down on the things that work. Double down on the things that make you feel your best. Double down on the things that align with every avenue of your life that goes towards you where you want to take it. And just stay consistent and don't fucking give up. Other than that, I appreciate you guys all. A little bit longer, but it's a life update. You know, the connection ones I kind of go in on a little bit more. I mean, they're all kind of connections because I share my experiences, but some episodes I do more value, try to give takeaways and stuff, because impact. I want to give everyone impact. But I appreciate you guys all, seriously. And I want you guys to have the absolute best week of your motherfucking lives. And just keep doing what you do best. So just show the fuck up. Let's go.
I'm pumping off adrenaline. I'm way too in my element. I know there's people better than, but right now who is better than? A man that's working hard as shit, trying to find a pot to piss. Showing all the ups and downs, shit is filled with awkwardness. Working on my discipline. Time for me, I schedule it. Show my life unedited. Y'all be doing